I'm excited today. It is Webinar Wednesday here. Carl, my buddy, man, we're sitting here in LA, you know, going through stuff. We did a little pregame there. Please take it away. Talk to us a little bit. Get us an intro into this training today.
Sure. So we are going to go through, and the main topics we're going to cover have to do with home theater for Sonos. So talking about what we're going to be, what the latest and greatest is on the home theater side of things, with the S2 app obviously being a main focal point of that, and some of the newer products. And they say newer, obviously they were released a few months back, namely the Arc and how that figures into the equation. And Russ is going to be the one running through that presentation, and I'm excited. He's one of our regional senior national trainers. If you're not familiar with him already, you've probably seen him around through some of the events that we've had in the area. The other thing too, and Russ had mentioned this, is if there's questions regarding S2 or there's other things that you guys have, I would say throw them into the Q&A. It looks like a couple things have already come in from Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, for sending some questions over. We'll get to those, I think, at the end or as we go along. We'll try to monitor that. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Russ, who's going to take us through home theater with Sonos, and I'm excited to be here with you guys this morning.
Yeah, Russ, buddy, let's do it.
Man, so good. Every time I join in a Volume training, Gary is just so hyped up. Like I don't get like, and it could be so early in the morning too. Gary, you could be like 6:30 in the morning and you have so much energy. For me, it's just like, I need at least one or two of these in order to get on your level. Thank you so much for the welcomes. The best part about doing this for Volume is that Volume almost feels like a family because we've been doing this back and forth for so long. So I appreciate the invite. I remember when it came in my inbox, I was like, yeah, sure. Sign me up. Let's do it. Without further ado, I'll say this, all the hard questions and complaints, send it to Carl. All the techie, like good stuff, send it to me. Few things, yes, you will notice it is bright in here. I have two LED lights. I have a webcam. I have a green screen behind me. I also have adorable cats who might meow all over the place. That's the perks of working from home. So if you ever hear that, know that. So we're going to get it started. Gary, let me know if you see the full screen.
You're looking
I'm going to
screen.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the presentation.
Just one more note of housekeeping, guys. I am going to be on here until about 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. So when I hop off, Russ and Gary will still be there. I just didn't want it to be abrupt when I end up having to go. But that's it. And until then, I'll be here.
Thanks, buddy. And remember, guys, we will be back on live at 2 p.m. today. So if you have to bounce out, you got to rejoin, or in the meantime, in the next few hours, tell your team members that we're going to be doing a secondary training a little bit later on today. All right, guys, let's get underway.
All right, Gary, I'm going to shut off my video just so it doesn't block like half of my screen, all right? Okay, here we go. All right, so welcome, Sonos Lessons. This is our live edition. We actually do our own webinars as well. If you need that schedule, Carl can also send out that schedule. We also send it out via our dealer comms. If you don't know who I am, my name is Russ Ramos. That's my email address. The reason why I put that up there is because if we have any questions that come up that are maybe very lengthy as a question, or maybe you need a lot more detail than something as a quick tidbit, you are more than welcome to email me. I understand how daunting that is to give out my email in a presentation like this, especially with all of you amazing folks. But if you need it, it's there. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. So today's playlist, we're going to go over some home theater hardware. We're just going to breeze through it, all the product that you guys might already know. But the best part about this is the setup and configurations. I think that we need to shine some light on all the customization, all the options that you can do. And of course, some troubleshooting. And yes, we did save some time for some Q&A. I want to respect everyone's time in here, and I don't want to make this super lengthy. So I do want to just thank everyone for coming once again. We're going to get right into it. So home theater, we're going to go over our core products here. We've got Arc, which is our flagship soundbar. We've got Sub. For those of you that don't know, we actually just hit our generation 3 of it, even though aesthetically it doesn't look like it. We also have Beam, our mini but mighty soundbar. So talking about Arc here, when we talk about flagship soundbars, let's first talk about the TVs. So when it comes down to the TV side, we know that TV sizes have been going to the larger scale. I remember if anyone were to think about maybe 10 years ago, big screen would probably be considered about 50 inches. Nowadays, we're looking at 65 to 75 inches, maybe, is kind of the go-getter when it comes to just a big screen TV. Now, with the big screen TVs, you also want to make sure you have a soundbar that fits right with it. I remember when Playbar was first introduced, it fit well with the TV sizes. But nowadays, you need something with a little bit more, matching when it comes down to the width. But let's also talk about Dolby Atmos. Now, with Dolby Atmos, it's not just your standard codec. The best part about Atmos is it's very much customizable, not on our end, but on the creator side. So when it comes to the studios, whether it be TV, whether it be film, it definitely allows studios to actually create and mix the way they want to, whether it's 2 in the ceiling, 4 in the ceiling, maybe it's you're in a theater and you want to do an array of 34 pretty much roof-mounted speakers. Dolby Atmos allows you to configure that within post-production. And it really allows you to kind of pinpoint sound to where you want it to go. So for instance, we're all used to hearing 5.1. We're all used to hearing, I want to say, maybe helicopter sounds coming from front to back, but now you should be able to hear it going from front, top, back, side. And that's the beauty of Dolby Atmos. Tons of studios are also getting into this. I mean, you got your heavy hitters, you got Disney, you've got Fox, which they are now within the same company. You've got Warner Brothers, Universal, you got so many companies. You even got streaming services, paid streaming services joining in on this. If you are using an Apple TV, you know that you can purchase 4K Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos films. And Netflix as well. Netflix is streaming a plethora of actual, what do you call it? Streaming films and TV shows where you can get it. But we wanted to also make sure that as we trust our own ears, we also wanted to make sure we trust the creator's ears as well. So when it comes down to that, the guy on the screen, you may not know who he is, but Chris Jenkins is on our soundboard, and he actually helped us tune Beam and Arc to make sure what he's putting out in post-production is what can be heard in your own homes. So he helped us tune Arc. Speaking of Arc itself, here it is in all its glory. I'm pretty sure you've seen it around. This is it in matte finish white. It is our flagship soundbar, but what makes it a flagship soundbar? Well, when you look at it, you've got 3D sound with Dolby Atmos. So yes, you can also hear everything coming front of you, side to side, but you can also be encompassed into the sound from the top as well. It's tuned, so you have the ability to true play tune it as well. Sorry, there's a delay on my mouse here. There we go. So not only will you get that Dolby Atmos sound, but when you true play it, it actually does help out a lot. And for instances where you would think, where does TruePlay come along with Dolby Atmos? The biggest part about it is the modified version of TruePlay, where it actually will sense your roof line. For me, I live in a downtown LA apartment. I do have high ceilings. We're probably talking about maybe 15 to 18 foot high ceilings. Yes, TruePlay will sense that you have high ceilings and will adjust from there. Even though I do have high ceilings, it actually does still give me some Dolby Atmos sound coming from overhead. And how we get to that, we also use this thing called phased array. And I know it looks like it's 1, 2, 3. You get left, right, center. The in-betweens are actually part of our phased array as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phased array zones. So what this is that once you actually hear a sound coming all the way from the left, we play the inverse sound on the right side. So it's, if anyone's ever used noise canceling headphones, it is similar to that. So phased array is how we really get a realistic 3D sound from Sonos Arc. We also use physical upfiring waveguides. So it's not just a driver on the top, but it is built and designed to actually make sure the sound doesn't flood into the room. It actually is angled so it does come up. And we also use baffles as well, physical, which is our upfiring waveguides, to make sure the sound securely goes up and then back down into the room. And, you know, I hope everyone knows that this does exist, especially for home theater. But we have speech enhancement, and we have also, wait for it, there it is, night sound. So speech enhancement is great if you are using lower volumes and maybe you're watching an old film. Maybe you're watching, I don't know, Casablanca. And there's a lot of dialogue in there, but it wasn't mixed probably the best way back in the day, maybe the remaster versions. But when you enable speech enhancement, it does boost that mid-range. It does boost the dialogue as well. Now, if you use that in conjunction as well with night sound, it creates the, to me, the best nighttime action movie watching experience. Let's say you turn on both speech enhancement and you turn on night sound and you're watching an action film at night, you can still hear all the action sequences. You could still hear all the dialogue, but you don't get the, you know, crazy amount of bass. It actually will tone it down and you won't disturb your neighbors. Sonos Arc was engineered, took a while for us to do this. This is probably my favorite view of Sonos Arc. You've got 11 drivers, all angled, and there you can actually see the up-firing waveguides as well. When those top drivers are flush in, the up-firing waveguides are actually kind of molded to make sure the sound doesn't leak out. But this is one of my favorite views. So it is engineered. Fun fact too, as I get into this next slide, the design of this as well. If anyone knows, we are very much obsessed with design as we are with sound. That grill, that curved grill is pressed, and we actually had to patent a machine to get that curved grill and hand mold it into its place. So not only did we spend some time actually designing it, we spent some time designing the machine to actually just put the grill onto there, that front grill that curves, the Arc grill per se. Connection of Sonos Arc is extremely difficult with about 50 inputs in the back. Just kidding. There's literally just one. You've got HDMI eARC, which will send the data from TV to Sonos Arc. Included in the box too, which is actually not pictured here, you also have the optical to HDMI adapter, same one that's used in our Sonos Beam. And there is the power cable. It's very difficult to see, but the power cable is the opposite side of the HDMI. We listened to some of the feedback that we got from Sonos Beam. So we wanted to make sure it was fitted on the side. So when you do mount it, you do have that space. And of course you have in the middle there, you have your Ethernet connection, and you also have your connect button to sync it to your Sonos system. Now we're gonna get into some codecs here. You've got HDMI eARC, you've got ARC, you've got optical. Let's go over the first one, eARC, or also known as an enhanced return channel. This is where you can get your Atmos, but not only just Atmos, but in its uncompressed formats. So Dolby Digital True HD Atmos, you've got Dolby Matte 2.0, which is used heavily on Apple TVs, and you also have Dolby Digital Plus. Then you get your standard 5.1 and uncompressed Dolby True HD, and of course 2.0. With HDMI ARC, which is most modern TVs nowadays, eARC is usually available, I want to say, in like really premium TVs from 2018 and up. But HDMI ARC is widely available, audio return channel. Dolby Atmos is still available. You can still get Dolby Atmos with traditional HDMI audio return channel. It's going to be in the format of Dolby Digital Plus. To give you an example, I actually have a 2018 Sony A8F OLED TV in my living room. And it doesn't have enhanced audio return channel. It only has regular HDMI audio return channel. But I can still get Atmos through Dolby Digital Plus. And of course, you have your traditional 5.1 Dolby Digital. If you have a very much older TV, if a client of yours has a very, very old TV, the standard is still optical, and you could still use it, and you can still get your 5.1 Dolby Digital experience. Nothing changes on that end. Sonos Arc is very much mountable. This is our mount here. A nice little secret there is that this mount is a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller in scale. If you are using it, if you are kind of flipping it around from Playbar to Arc, the holes will fit. My suggestion is to use the holes that will cover it, because you know, with Playbar, you had the top layer of holes and you had the bottom layer of holes. As you can see, this is only one row. So just make sure you cover your existing holes when you're swapping it out from Playbar to Arc. Another fun fact about the mount itself, there's actual sensors in there. We put magnet sensors on the mount itself. So once Sonos Arc is actually mounted to the Sonos Arc mount, it will sense those magnet sensors and it will actually temper down the bass resonance. I have a feeling we're already going to get questions about using it on a full motion mount. If you have adapters that you want to use, I would say use it as long as it fits, doesn't sag, aesthetically pleasing. Of course, use it, but also please do not forget to TruePlay. TruePlay is going to be the saving grace for Sonos Arc, and actually everyone should be TruePlaying itself. TruePlay is kind of our calibration. We're going to go over that as well, but please, when you mount it, don't forget to TruePlay. As you know, with Sonos, we're kind of the Legos of speakers, so you can expand your system, whether your clients decide to get just Sonos Arc. If they want to do the whole thing at once, they can. You can use wireless rears of your choice. You can also use sub. We're going to go over the configurations in a bit, but I just want to let everyone know you can expand it, just like any other Sonos home theater product. It all connects over Wi-Fi. Hopefully everyone knows that. And we can stream music through AirPlay 2. It is AirPlay 2 hardware compatible. And you can also sync your remote control, whether it is a IR remote control or whether you want to use HDMI CEC. We'll go over that. Has built-in voice, so whether you want to use Google Assistant or Amazon, not going to say the word to trigger it out, but if you want to use your Amazon Assistant or if you want to use your Google Assistant, you definitely can. We are not going to make people buy different versions of Sonos Arc just to get one version of a voice assistant. You actually can choose within the app, so at any given time, if you feel like you want to switch from Amazon to Google, you can just go into our app and you make that switch. Same design language on the top. So you have your touch capacitive controls. You can go volume up, volume down, play, pause. You can also swipe from left to right to track forwards on a song, or you can go on the opposite side. You can go swipe from right to left to track backwards on a song. That was Arc. We're going to just touch base briefly on Sonos Beam. Sonos Beam is our mini compact soundbar. It's still a high performer as well. Great for those little game rooms, great for small little dens, and for the office. I've actually seen some people put this on under their computer monitor. So it has 4 full range drivers. You also have a center tweener. It is a compact. You still get that dialogue coming from the center itself. It is super small, so we couldn't add a lot of bass into it, but we did the next best thing. We actually added in passive radiators, so passive bass radiators, not 1, not 2, but 3 of them. 2 of them are in the front, 1 of them are in the back. And the cable cove, again, with the simple connections, you have your power, your connect button, your Ethernet, and you also have HDMI ARC. With this, it also comes with the HDMI to optical adapter in case your television does not have HDMI ARC. The heatsink also has the integrated antenna. It also comes with an improved wireless antenna as well. So sub, this is actually our 3rd generation. Aesthetically, there are no changes. Performance-wise, I'm going to knock the rumors out the park already. There is no change in when it comes down to the performance of sub. We still use the same drivers and we still use the same amps. It's one of those things where it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The one thing we did change aesthetically was the design of the join button or the sync button, just to match our newer design language. The hidden power connector and the Ethernet is still at the bottom, but what I will tell you that did change internally is the radio antennas. It's improved radio antennas and improved processing power for wider range. So if you are putting sub a little bit further away than usual, it will perform better. Sub Gen 3 is available. It became available just when Arc came out as well. So we talked about Arc, we talked about Beam, we talked about sub. We're gonna touch base a little bit as well on the architectural sound. So if you don't know, I'm pretty sure you know about Amp. We also have Port, which is the successor to Sonos Connect. And we also have our Sonance. So Sonos by Sonance architectural speakers. Quickly go through them. Amp, very, very versatile amplifier. There's so many ways you can use this little amplifier itself. Even though it is compact, it's very powerful. You can definitely power up tower speakers, bookshelf speakers, in-wall, in-ceiling, power-hungry outdoor speakers as well. Give it a little look. Design language is still the same. You have your touch capacitive controls in the front. Underneath it, you also have infrared receiver, so it still acts as a home theater front itself. You can use any TV or remote control you want to if this is going to be displayed out. For a majority of you installers, for the majority of the sales, is probably, my guess, is going to be in a rack. So if you want to, the IR is still there. In the back, your connections are going to be very similar to the older Connect amp. You still have your sub output, which is now adjustable. In case anyone didn't know that, you actually can adjust the crossover frequency of it. Included in the box with amp is also the binding posts. So you have these custom banana plugs. You can also, I like them because you can pre-wire, pre-install, and just shoot them right in if you need to. You have your analog input. So whether you want to connect a CD player, most people probably, I've seen most people use it for a turntable, but it's not just for that. Whether you can use a computer, you can use a laptop. I've seen some people just take their massive library that's in an old iPod and actually connect it in there as well. But the main thing about this and what we're talking about today is home theater. So you still get that TV connectivity with the HDMI audio return channel connection. And we're going to go the configuration, but this is a very, very versatile piece. This is where a lot of customization is going to come into play with that HDMI. You also have 2 Ethernet ports to hardwire in. Very efficient, especially if you're going to use this in rack configurations and if you're going to use in multiple amplifier configurations. Now our Sonos by Sonance speakers. So you can see here, you've got your in-wall, you've got your in-ceiling, you also have your outdoor as well. Now, when you look at these speakers, yes, they may look like traditional in-wall, in-ceiling, and outdoor speakers. But what makes these special is what makes us special. Our obsession with sound, our obsession with making sure it sounds right. So when you use these in conjunction with Sonos Amp, the adjustment is there. You actually will get an optimized DSP for the outdoor, and for the in-ceiling and in-wall, even if you place it in very odd configurations, you actually can true play them. They're going to be the first passive speakers that can be true played with Sonos Amp. So that means even if you're going high ceilings, and if you use the Sonos by Sonos in-ceiling speakers, once you true play them, it will adjust for the high ceilings, the echoes, and it'll adjust your frequencies from all the way from your lows to your highs. Taking a quick look at the in-ceiling, there it is. Quick look at the in-wall speakers. Fun fact, we actually even customize the grill. It's actually our own grill that we use. And of course, Sonos Outdoor by Sonance. Great format for outdoor. And this is going to be my favorite part of the presentation. We're going to go into some configurations as well. So choosing home theater can be a little crazy. I mean, we don't know, most clients don't know when or where they want to start, but we're going to go over some options. Let's break it down. So home theater, yes, you have to start with a home theater front. No, we do not recommend using Sonos 5 or a Play 5 as a front. Please use Sonos Arc, Sonos Beam, or even Sonos Amp. Now, what we mean by Sonos Amp is these configurations. So even though this is just one image, the best part about this is that you're seeing 2 amps. You're seeing one's connected to the TV with that blue line, and then you're seeing the secondary amp, which is connected through the system wirelessly. So there is no blue line connecting from amp 1 to amp 2. So it's connected to 4 speakers. You also got Sonos Sub connected wirelessly as well. Now with this, I know what you're thinking. Home Theater 4.0, Home Theater 4.1. Where is the center channel? How am I going to get my dialogue? So how we do it is we actually did partner up with Dolby Labs to give what's called a phantom center. So what happens is in real time, as dialogue is coming out, Amp is actually doing the calculations. So it's sending out the center channel dialogue signal split between the two fronts. So the better your two fronts, the better stereo imaging your two fronts are, the better your phantom center is going to sound. The reason why this is important is because some designers don't want to see a center channel speaker. I've heard it so many times where they just think it's a little obtrusive. They don't think it's balanced out the room very well. I'm pretty sure you've heard that as well. And with this 4.0 or 4.1 configuration, you can still get that Dolby Digital mix into that room. Now it is the full Dolby Digital as well. It is not disparaged at all. So we still take in the full Dolby Digital 5.1, and it still outputs in a full Dolby Digital 5.1. It is a true Dolby Digital 5.1. Nothing is taken out from that, even though you only have 4.0 or 4.1 speakers. Now, what's not shown here too is one of my favorite things is that you can pick and choose. You can mix and match. So if you're using Arc in the front and you want to use Amp for your rears, if you want to use Amp for your front and you want to use Sonos 1s or Sonos 5s for the rears, there's so many ways you can pick and choose from there. Let me give you a quick list of how you can do that. So once you've added in your fronts, you can add in your sub, your 0.1, give you that bass, that depth. But you can also choose the surrounds of your choice, whether it's Sonos 5s, whether it's Sonos 1s, whether you want to use in-walls, in-ceilings, bookshelves, additional tower speakers for the rears. There are so many ways you can configure home theater surround sound. There's an overview look. So there's a surround sound system for every budget. Whether it's a small room, whether it's a game room, whether it's just the bedroom, whether it's the living room, whether it's a room where aesthetics means so much where they don't want to see the speakers, you can use Sonos Amp for fronts and rears. There are many ways you can configure this. Pick and choose as you go. And don't forget, please, please, please don't forget, you can true play home theater to its space. Not only does Beam do it, but Arc does it as well. So let's say you have a room, it's not perfectly square. Maybe you have an open living room. I can tell you myself that in my living room, I have wall to the left, but no wall to the right. It's just open to the kitchen. With TruePlay and phased array zoning, it actually will adjust and you still will get your surrounds and it will still sound as if things are coming off, bouncing around from the left or from the right. And it also adjusts for that center channel as well. Maybe your sweet spot is not in the middle. Maybe your sweet spot is a lounge chair that's a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. That center channel will actually just shift a little bit. So your dialogue will just shift a little bit to either the left or the right. TruePlay will adjust for that. So TruePlay will adjust for not only the actual sounds, not only for the surrounds or for the dialogue, but also will adjust for the room itself. So whether it's hardwood floors, whether it's carpet, whether it's maybe you have high ceilings, especially for Arc, no matter what it is, it will adjust from there. My living room is going to be different than yours. My kitchen is going to be different than yours. No room is the same. So what happens is all of our products, whether it's home theater or whether it's music based, they're personalized to the client. They're personalized to the home itself. One of our specialties. We're going to go over one last thing when it comes down to hardware. It's Port. So Port is a great option for, let's say you have your own system already. Maybe you have a bunch of Sonos. The client maybe already have a bunch of Sonos, but they want to integrate their existing integrated amp. They just want to add Sonos into that zone. They definitely can. Or maybe you're using a multi-channel amp for music throughout your entire space. You actually can use Sonos Port. One new thing that we added was a 12-volt trigger. This thing, it's right there on the top, very small, but it works just as our older Sonos Connect as well. The big thing here is it is smaller. It is to the same design as our Sonos Amp, just smaller. To give you a look of how small it is, there's your analog outputs as well. Give me a second here. So you do have your analog outs. The reason why we did switch from optical to digital out coax is because we took some feedback out in the field for installers, and it's much easier to terminate digital coax than it is optical. Of course, you know, we're not going to be able to please everyone, but for this, when it comes to custom installations, the digital out coax was very important. You also have your 2 Ethernet ports, especially if you're using this in a rack configuration. This might help out support, or maybe you just need the secondary Ethernet port. But to give you a look of how it looks like in a rack, there it is. The underneath, you've got 4 amps. You also have 3 Sonos ports on the top itself. It's the design language. But what's not shown here is the update of the internals for ports. And again, we want to make sure we start prepping our hardware for the future formats or formats that are already here. I know we're probably going to get some questions. If it's not already in the Q&A, we're probably going to get some questions about high res. Port has the hardware and the capability to do high res if we decide to do that in the future. And there's one of my cats. We also have continuity of control as well. So we don't want to keep you stuck and tied down to just the app itself, but the app is available. We also have direct control with our partners. So if it is Spotify, if it is Tidal, if it is Pandora, you actually don't have to bounce in between the Sonos app and the streaming app. You actually can control the Sonos speakers directly from some of our streaming partners. Yes, we have our touch control, which is on all of our speakers, touch capacitive, so volume up, volume down, play, pause. You even have volume control voice control as well. So no matter which voice assistant you want to use, you can choose and pick in between there. Again, we're not going to make the clients buy a Sonos Google version or a Sonos Amazon version. The choice is theirs in the app itself. And we also have partner control. Some of our partners, some of our Works with Sonos certified partners. There it is. Popular ones such as URC. You also have Control 4. You also have Crestron. You have Pioneer's Umbrella, which is Pioneer Elite, Integra, and also Onkyo. Now, when it comes down to our partner side of things, we know that there are still other integrations that are being used. I think some Sony ones are being used. Sony ES AVRs are being used. They are not certified, even though it does work. They aren't certified, so they're not going through our official process. I just needed to put that out there. But we do have a Work with Sonos platform program. If you want to learn more about it, or if you want to develop and build your own, feel free. Developer.sonos.com. It is there. Or if you have any questions, especially when it comes to integrations, you can email me as well, and I can point you to the right direction, or give you the best answer that I can. All right, we talked about hardware, we talked about integrations, we talked about some configurations. Let's get into some details here. We've got some home theater details, some questions that are going to be, if not posted already. But here we go. So the home theater rules. I'm not a fan of reading on the screen of the slide itself. It's kind of a taboo kind of thing, especially when it comes down to the presentation side of things, but I'm going to do it for this one. Wireless fronts and a hardwired sub or rears are not compatible. The example options are hardwire all of them, hardwire none of them and keep it wireless, or just hardwire the fronts and then the rest wired. Do not hardwire the rears when it comes down to home theater. All rears and subs connect over 5 gigahertz. Quick example of that: hardwire everything, hardwire nothing, or just hardwire your fronts. Home theater rule. Now, syncing your remote, if your remote is Bluetooth and you're using optical, yeah, no bueno, not good. Most TV manufacturers can force an IR signal through the remote, though. And we are going to get some questions about probably Samsung. Carl is, I think he's still here, so he can answer those questions as well in the chat. And remember, I said it before, I said it again, but speech enhancement and night mode is still available. Okay, I just needed to reiterate that. It's a fun use tool, and we really hope people use that because it's a great feature when it comes down to using the Sonos app. So TV audio delay. There's going to be some factors where you will get some delays. Might not even be the TV. It might even be the cable box. My tidbit here is if you have a client and they are getting some TV audio delay and they're watching TV from a cable box, a couple of things that's overlooked is just make sure that the cable box firmware and software are all up to date and those settings are changed from the manufacturers out the box, whether it is output settings or whether it is lip sync errors or anything like that. Just make sure the cable box is also set to play. Again, there's a lot of variables here, excuse me. There's a lot of variables here when it comes down to TV audio delay, but there is some adjustment within our app itself. If you go to settings, room settings, and then there's something that's called TV dialogue sync, you can adjust it from there. It's not going to fix every problem, but the adjustment is there. When it comes down to Dolby Atmos, some TVs don't automatically do it. They don't automatically push that signal out there. Again, a lot of variables here, but just make sure the settings are right. The output settings on the TV are right when it comes down to Dolby Atmos. Every manufacturer are going to have many different ways of having many different adjustments. So please just make sure that is double checked as the installation goes through. And if you need to verify or confirm if you're getting Dolby Atmos, there are two ways to do it. A little bit of a delay on my end, delay lag, sorry. There we go. All right, so signal output. So if you go into Sonos settings, you go to About My System, and if you scroll down, you'll get your hardware list, but in that hardware list, you'll also see audio input. And the audio input is actually going to tell you whether it's Dolby Atmos, Dolby 5.1, or Stereo 2.0. So if there's a client out there that is listening to a movie and they're thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right, you can go into About My System, check your settings, and once you confirm that, then you could say, oh, okay, well, let me just see if there's any TV settings that I can adjust from there. Now, Atmos in particular, the fun fact here is that you actually will get an indication on the app itself in the room settings. So that same screen that you saw with the speech enhancement and with the night sound, that's where you'll see Dolby Atmos, the actual logo for Dolby Atmos as well. So if everything is outputting correctly, again, more specifically just for Dolby Atmos, you'll see it on the now playing screen as well. But if you need to dive deeper, the About My System settings is there so you can really hone down to see which product is outputting what. We also have Submit a Diagnostic. So if you go into Settings tab, Help and Tips, in the future, by the way, this is actually going to change into Support. But for right now, Help and Tips, submit the diag, give it a minute or two. It's going to get you this code. And our customer care team can also help out. What submitting a diag does, if anyone doesn't know, if anyone hasn't seen it, which I hope no one has because it's all internal, it actually gives us a full breakdown of the network and of the hardware and all the specs that are going out, a full matrix of what's going down within that system itself. It's a great tool to actually support remotely, especially nowadays where we have to be physically distant and we have to do things remotely. This is one way to support without having to be there. If you have a music streaming service that's not going well or that's not streaming or is just down, before you fire off on Twitter and social media, I would suggest going at status.sonos.com. That's where you can see every single streaming service that's in line with us. You'll get a check mark green, as you can see here, if everything is all good. But then you'll also get other symbols. You might get like partial outage, you might get degraded performance, major outage, but we won't just give you the symbol. I'll replay this slide. There you go. On the top, you actually can see all systems operational. If there is an error, we'll actually display it underneath and we'll describe it as well. So for instance, let's say for some reason Tidal is down. We'll actually describe what the problem is when it comes down to that. And we, of course, monitor this 24/7 to make sure things are going accurately. As a recap, home theater, great sound. It's an easy experience. Premium design and aesthetics. Freedom of choice, that's the big one there too. Freedom of choice to actually play what you want to play, choose what type of home theater system you want, and also mix and match as well. And it all works together. So no matter if you bought a system from us a couple years ago maybe you want to add in sub to that, it actually all will still work together. We don't make different versions of it. We also, if anyone's noticed, we don't create Gen 2s the year after. It's not like an iPhone. We do create these products to last very, very long time, hardware based. So yeah, it all works together. All right, folks, that's going to be it for me. I'm going to put it up as a Q&A here. The funny thing is we did modify this because we did get a lot of questions when we first started presenting Sonos Arc. These are the dimensions for Arc. The mounting under TV, the recommendation is 4 inches. Before you guys grill us with that 4 inches, it's just a recommendation. It's not concrete. You can obviously mount Arc and tuck it underneath the TV. And use Arc with Connect Amp. Yes, you can. Gary, thank you for having me, man. Let's open up the Q&A.
No, we've got some work to do here. I got emailed questions as well. So let's try, and yes, Carl did bounce at about 15 minutes ago. So it's just you and I, guys. Let's get our questions ready. You and I can start from the top. Let's accommodate these guys. They've got detailed questions. We also have been referring to the trainings that you've got later in the week, and you might want to mention what those are and what those modules contain before we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So with us, let me just share my screen here. I'm so sorry for this lag and delay. All right, camera's back up. Cool. Let's get these questions going. All right, so yes, you are right. We do have our own training festival. Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. So at Sonos, we have our training festival this week. It was actually yesterday, today, and also tomorrow. That training session is obviously, yes, home theater is part of it, but we also have custom installation. We have discussions. We even have coffee with Sonos if you just want to talk the talk with us to get to know us a little bit better. We even have a happy hour that's going on tomorrow. But all the virtual learning, if you guys need that link, please email me. I'll even put my email on the screen here as well. There you go, russell.ramos@sonos.com. If you want to join in, just let me know. But we have many trainings going on. I think we're doing, maybe 12 in a week. Yeah. Which is usually what we do in a month. So we're just jam packing into it. So that's why we're calling it training festival. But yes, if you want that invite, let me know. Yeah, you know what? I'll put that link on the email tonight, everybody. Tonight, like I said, probably 6 to 7 p.m. You're going to get a video of this right here. You're going to get the slide deck, and I will also include the festival's link. It is also on Zoom, not only today, but tomorrow as well. So let's move forward with some of these Q&As. We can start at the top. Tommy, I think Carl was discussing some stuff with you, but Russell, if you want to go there with me and we start going down the list, let's hit it. Sure. I actually don't have a line of sight to the Q&A box, unfortunately. You don't? Then I'm going to fire them at you, man. We'll do lightning round, okay? Let's do it. Okay. Tommy, thank you very much. Can a Samsung TV control volume with Sonos Amp back at rack via CEC or Wi-Fi? Yes. I know that's a quick answer. That's a short answer, man. That's just okay. Yeah. Tommy, you definitely can. It is going to be HDMI CEC is going to give you that capability. Obviously, you can't necessarily use IR unless you're using an IR extender if the rack is super far away. But yes, HDMI CEC is going to give you that availability. Well, he also said, forgot to mention that the TV is connected via optical to Cat6, balance my port on Sonos Amp using TV remote control. Forgot to mention that. There you go. Apologies. Then if you're using optical, then no, obviously you can't use HDMI CEC because it's a different connection, but you still can use our app if you want to, or you can use a third-party control app as well. Or if you're using IR extenders, if the home was pre-wired and you have that ability to customize and actually splice and cut in an IR extender, you can do that as well. But Wi-Fi is where it's at, so please use our app. All right, Andrew, I have an amp that insists on showing up as 2 devices on the A word, one as a speaker and the other as an unwanted TV device. How to disable showing up as a TV? Make sense? Makes sense. That's a little difficult. There's a lot of variables when it comes into that. I actually had this discussion with one of my coworkers that works on the entertainment side. The integration, we try our best to make sure our app is very intuitive, but if anyone's ever used the Google Home app, or even the Amazon app, my best practice on that is to, I know it's going to be a pain, but my best practice is as the installation is happening, just make sure everything is set properly. The accounts are set properly. It is a one-to-one account. Um, there's a lot to unpack there. For that question, I would say email me so I can actually get you into customer care and get you the right answer to how to disable that.
John had an interesting question. He's asking you to address the sweet spot for the Atmos effect. I've read that it is 3 feet in front of the Arc with a 9-foot ceiling, unless you tilt the Arc.
That's a good one. Sweet spot. That's crazy. I would say 9-10 feet, flat ceiling. That would be an average sweet spot. 9-10 feet, I'm sorry, above. So the ceiling is 9-10 feet. When it comes down to the distance in between the listening experience, you don't really have 3 feet's relatively close. I would say maybe about a good, 7-10 feet.
Okay.
That again, recommendation, a lot of variables that come into play, but I really do hope that anyone that's looking for a sweet spot, please true play the system. The true play will actually, like if you're using your iOS device and you're true playing it, that is actually going to give you your best sweet spot, because whether you're 3 feet, whether you're 6 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet away, this is going to dictate your sweet spot. So please true play Sonos Arc in the installation process. Don't skip it.
Great. Thank you so much. And that sweet spot could be a big bubble. You know, that could be 6 foot or even more. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're somebody who's probably experienced a lot of different sound systems and experiencing what Atmos can do within the confines of smaller rooms to bigger rooms with your equipment. So you got an expert opinion there.
Yeah, we've done it in ballroom, like hotel ballrooms, all the way down to a small like studio. So the best thing about it is, again, true play. It can have that adjustment. You can fine tune it to where you really want to listen.
All right, Chris. I know, Chris. How are you doing, buddy? Can you Bluetooth the Arc to Arc or Beam without having to open the app to change it in Bluetooth source? Will it change back to TV automatically after Bluetooth? Can you use the app to Bluetooth while TV is on, overriding automatic TV audio?
Ooh, I mean, that was a lengthy question. The first thing I heard was Bluetooth. I hope you're not using Bluetooth, because Sonos Arc doesn't use Bluetooth. Sonos Beam doesn't use Bluetooth. I just want to clarify, perhaps you meant Wi-Fi or streaming, but we don't use Bluetooth on Arc or Beam or our home theater products. That's not what we use Bluetooth for streaming.
All right, Chris, hey, if there's something more detailed we need to know about, hit me back. Moving on, Charlie Cobb. I've had 2 recent Arc installs with Samsung TVs where audio will cut out every few seconds for 1 to 2 seconds, then come back, then repeat. A hard reboot of the Arc usually fixes this. Have you experienced this issue before?
Yes, I'm trying to figure out my PR response to this, because this is a known issue. I will say that we are having some issues with HDMI ARC or enhanced audio return channel with the newer Samsung models itself. I can't necessarily say when it will be fixed, but it is being looked into, and there is going to be a fix. That is my PR response to that.
Thanks, Charlie. All right, this is Top Robertson. Can amp be bridged mono to derive a center? I think you mentioned a little bit about the center channel stuff earlier.
Yes, Amp does have the ability to do dual mono, but not for that feature, not for home theater usage. The mono feature within the settings of the Sonos app is actually used for the configuration. Let's say perhaps let's talk about an outdoor system. Maybe it's too wide, or maybe you're using odd number of speakers. Maybe it's just too wide or just too separated for the speakers to really get stereo. That's where mono comes into play. And you're not mono blocking, you're just taking that signal, turning it into mono. What's great about that too is maybe you have an instance where it's being installed in a bathroom, and the bathroom is also connected to maybe like a massive walk-in closet. Maybe you don't want to put 2 speakers in the closet, maybe 1 speaker in the bathroom and 1 speaker in the master closet. That's where the mono comes into play. It is not for home theater usage. The Phantom Center does work very well as long as you have good two fronts. That Phantom Center is just going to sound as if dialogue is coming from the middle. My advice is, if you're a purist, if you really, really, really want that center channel, use Beam or use Arc. That's how you'll really get that dedicated center. But the Phantom Center is still really good.
Speaking of multi-speakers, Mitchell, can you use an Arc sub and then 2 amps powering 2 pairs of surround speakers to create a 7.1 setup?
Funny, when I do these webinars, I actually categorize that as a request. That's like, I think that's someone's asking for like a 7.1 configuration or like an active Atmos for the top configuration. That is dope. I want that so much, but that's not what it's for. Unfortunately, we do cap out our system to, I think it's 5.1.2 as the Atmos format. So you get your traditional 5.1, you get your sub, and then you Arc will give you the 2 drivers going up. I want that. So that's not impossible, but that's not in play right now.
Got it. Hey, Adam, is there any plan for PoE for upcoming speakers?
PR response: we do not comment on future roadmap hardware or software.
Got it. John, any chance you can bring back full programming ability through the PC desktop app? When setting up or adding more components to an existing install, it's a real pain to have to try to, and to get Wi-Fi passwords for clients, to get local network access, and programming via phone is tedious. We're already using a laptop to programming other systems via LAN port interface in the network switch. You remotely, the ability to a few years ago, you had that ability a few years ago. I have many clients that still use a desktop app to the PC to control and add more components over time.
That is a really, really good question. Was that Adam?
Yep. No,
Yeah.
John Nordstrom.
John. Okay. So that question always comes into play. And what I will say is that I do myself actually use the desktop app, but there are reasons for what we do and how we do it. Again, this is one of those things where we just can't please everyone. The reason why we did make this switch was because when it comes down to the installation encompassing every part of the installation process, this device is going to pretty much do it all, because not only will you be able to install the hardware, connect all the hardware, but you also be able to do your voice assistants. You'll also be able to true play on your mobile device, specifically iOS because it's in my hand, as well. So unfortunately, the desktop app is really just going to be a control app. I feel like a lot of clients use it as that. I hear you though. I hear that, a lot of installers do miss the desktop installation process. But when it comes down to the support side of things, it is pretty much a very efficient way to install on the iOS device. So I apologize for that. If there's a feature that you're looking for the desktop app, my email is there, russell.ramos@sonos.com. Use it, hit me up. But as for right now, we're not changing the desktop app. It is just going to be a controller.
Got it. Ira, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you on this morning. He asked, do station mode and Sonos Net mode still exist with the new hardware?
Yes. So if you're talking about wireless and hardwired, if he's referring to Sonos MeshNet 2.0, that still exists. And yes, you can still do wireless or hardline everything, or wired some, or wireless on some of them. You can still do that.
Okay, Philip, how are you, man? He's a Santa Barbara guy, so you might know Phil. Any situation that involves Ethernet connections to Sonos products, in-house system, and HT.
Say that one more time, you cut off there.
Any situation that involves Ethernet connections to Sonos products, in-house systems, or HT, or home theater. Make sense?
Unfortunately, no. I'm trying to understand the question.
Phil, that's what you wrote. Maybe embellish a little bit more on your Ethernet connections question for us, and I'll circle back.
Please.
Michael, will there ever be a partner portal where we can manage customer devices in a single pane of glass? Does that mean his iOS?
Like one screen? I'm also having trouble.
Yeah, Michael, maybe elaborate a little bit more for us there. Andrew,
I got the first part about that, but not the last part.
Right. And Dave, is there a tip about TruePlay I should know when measuring?
Yes. Good question, Dave. All right, so TruePlay is a lot of people think when they look at the room space and they have their iOS device and they're actually TruePlaying. A lot of people actually TruePlay. Like, let's say I'm in my living room and then I have my kitchen. It's an open living space. Automatically, the thoughts are to TruePlay everywhere within the space. My tip is I have a few tips. One, turn the volume up on the player. So whether it's Arc or whether it's Beam, just turn the volume up a little bit. What's going to happen is those TruePlay sounds are going to be louder, which will give you a better accurate reading. So one, turn the volume up. And then two, TruePlay to the space. Don't TruePlay to the home, but just TruePlay to the space. So let's say open living space, still blends into the kitchen. I'm not going to walk from the living room to the kitchen. I'm just going to walk around the living room space. So TruePlay to the space and turn the volume up.
I always love the anonymous because this could be a doozy. No, I'm just.
Oh,
all right. So, but hey, okay. Currently, it looks like your audio sync is in seconds. Will it be adjusted to milliseconds in the future for more fine control?
Good question. Good request. I'm not opposed to it. That's a good feature request. Not impossible, but obviously not something we're doing right now. I should jot that down. That's a good one. Yeah. But no, not right now.
I think Chris Gentry was defining his question, and I'll read it to you as is. AirPlay then or via Spotify enabled speakers, question mark. Same context question as Bluetooth. Some rental properties need to play music to the speakers without installing Sonos app.
I feel like this is also like one of those Airbnb questions too, where they don't want to use, they can't, obviously clients can't use the Sonos system if they don't have the app, so they direct connect with Spotify or with Tidal or Pandora. So the question is, I got that first part, but what was the question again? The beginning part?
Properties need to play music in the speaker. Is that what you were kind of already referring to?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It's he just said AirPlay then or via Spotify enable speakers, question mark. Same context question as Bluetooth.
I mean, if you're going to ask me for my preference, whether it's AirPlay 2 or Direct Connect, the only thing that I worry about when people use it, yes, it's very efficient to like not have to download an app, connect, register. But the problem with using AirPlay 2 and using Spotify, although yes, very efficient, is the variable is the device. So for instance, AirPlay from your iPhone, if you move around too much throughout the home, and if it's a large home, the connection might drop out every now and then. That's just because the variable is the device and it's not necessarily pulling from the cloud to the Sonos device. It's actually pulling from cloud to device to Sonos player. So there's too many steps there. So if you are going to AirPlay or if you are going to direct connect, whether it's Spotify, Tidal, Pandora, just make sure the device is very stationary within the room and you won't have any dropouts.
Thank you. Johnny Flamingo's got an observation, basically. I'll read it to you. He says it's a poor location of IR window on the very bottom of Arc. Also, window is so narrow. You cannot fit an IR emitter for volume with a control system. Is that something you guys have encountered?
I've heard it in the past before, especially when we were introducing Arc. I get it. Unfortunately, that's not my decision, my call, but it is something that we can give feedback to our engineers. And I'm just going to write that down too. So this isn't one of those scenarios where this guy's just going to answer our questions. He's not really going to do anything. I am actually going to take your feedback to the engineers as well in Santa Barbara. So IR for Arc specifically, it's just not the right size replacement. Haven't heard that very much often. It's very rare. So thank you for bringing that up. It is something to consider, especially if it starts coming up a lot in the past. I hope this is just like a one-off kind of case, but yeah, that's good feedback.
How about Eric? Oh, Eric, my buddy. Parental control, ability to lock out a zone from an iOS user.
Good feedback. Great request too, because I know when we do very large installations, when it comes down to the business side of things, you may not want specific zones being controlled or used. A lockout is a great request. In our new software, Sonos S2 app, will actually give us the availability and ability to actually do that in the future. As of right now, again, PR response, we don't comment on future hardware or software roadmap, but good feedback, writing that down too.
Philip, I think he was circling back on his original question. He was saying that his example was an older system, which was a Sonos Connect, originally wired Ethernet. Currently, the tech support have recommended a wireless Sonos net rather wired. Is that clarifying that question earlier?
I'd have to hear the entire question again, but I would say that strange for tech support to recommend all wireless instead of wired. My whole thing about the connectivity piece of it, especially networking side, a little story. I actually also do our large production scale things such as CEDIA. So big production items like that, when we have to design our booth and we have to design large scale productions like that, we hardline everything, because once you hardline everything and you configure it properly, it's bulletproof. You don't have to worry about, things lagging, delays, volume up, volume down, track forward, track backwards. It is bulletproof. So if someone is going to ask me if I prefer hardline versus wireless or a combination, I will say hardline as much as you can. If there's Ethernet ports and if you have that availability, do it.
Yeah, I think that's rule of thumb no matter what.
Yeah.
George, he says, hey, you mentioned someone using a Beam as a computer speaker. How did they make that connection?
It's a coworker of ours. I'll tell you right now, they used a USB-C hub from their MacBook Pro. So what happened is it extracted the audio. I'm not going to promote any brand of USB-C hubs, but they used a hub to go Toslink out or optical out from that hub, from MacBook to the hub to Beam. It's a dope setup, by the way.
Got it. Jeff asks, can you fully control the Arc with drivers?
Elaborate. Like third-party control, as in like API controls?
That's all I got there. Maybe he's seeing there are other options that he cannot entirely control, but I'm only elaborating myself.
Okay. See how I can answer that question. Fully control Arc with drivers. I mean, I would say if the APIs are available, I mean, if you're talking about like Crestron or Savant, yeah, you should have full control.
That's pretty much all of it. I see a couple of other kind of other responses in order of what we've already answered. But I did see a couple things that came through with kind of the theme of pricing, direct emails from Sonos, that navigating it with the customers. I mean, obviously you and I've got that relationship. I've got a relationship with the dealers. Maybe just give us a little overview of where we stand, currently. We know the pricing's out there. Where do I stand in it with my distribution, standing in between everybody, trying to make it all work out for everybody? You're a super popular company, anyway, maybe can you speak to a little bit about that and what these guys go through?
Right. I mean, we hear you. Trust me, when I coordinate webinars, before the webinar starts, we already get those style of complaints. And I completely understand where dealers, distributors are coming from. I don't want to give an answer that will, one, upset a lot of people, or maybe not give an answer that's detailed enough. And I hate to be the person to kind of veer away from that question. I promise you that's not what I'm going for. When it comes to the communications directly to the clients, yeah, we do market. We do those in-app messaging. If maybe, let's say like Sonos Move, a new colorway is out, purchase directly through sonos.com. That goes to our D2C. Yes, we do that. It is something that we do. I hear the pains of it because I know some people are going to say, why don't you route them to the dealer page? Why don't you route them to us instead? I don't have that answer. I don't have a reason why we do that. I do wish Carl was here to give you a more concrete answer. Carl is actually the account manager for the West Coast. So as of right now, my answer is going to be, please direct that to your account manager.
Well, yeah.
Apologies. I promise I'm not trying to like disparage the question. I understand. I feel the pain. I hear it more often than you think. Trust me.
Yeah, you know, and Clark was kind of just saying, hey, to clarify, my new clients are getting Sonos direct emails that oftentimes provide better pricing. So I mean, you're covering it, and I think that politically, Carl would come in and say, hey guys, I'm here for you. If, what Gary or AllNet or all of the partners are offering in terms of pricing, there is support. There's a whole lot that goes with it. So
Yeah, there's a lot of back end work. It's not just we're going to cut this price, we're going to sell for this. There's a lot of thought into it. So for people who think that the pricing is just like pricing, no, we do actually even do work behind the scenes to make sure we try to support all aspects. Obviously, we can't tell you that for legal reasons, what we do, but we do work behind the scenes to try to support, even though the end user or even though the installer or the dealer or the distributor may not get that or may not see it. We do work behind the scenes, and Gary, you could probably attest to that as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, I think what wins the day is the sound, for instance, and just all of us dealing with app-based products. It's in our wheelhouse right now. But let's continue the fight. It's awesome product. My product is now flowing again. And we're here to train you. We're here to try to get you to invest in alternate installs. And to a testament of how many people are on this webinar, and again in 3 hours, it's something that we need to know. We're going to continue to test you, company, Russell, and you guys continue to deliver for that CI channel. When I mentioned at the top, I know your dedication to the CI channel, but I also see that you're to your brand, and it's huge. It is huge. So,
yeah, and to sheds a little bit of light onto the CI channel as well. 3 years ago, I joined this company about 3 years ago, even though it feels like a lot longer. We didn't have a CI team. CI was never really a hard focus. And then it came about, we actually now have a full dedicated, we call it the IS or Installed Solutions channel. We have a full team of marketing, of finance, of field marketing, of account managers, just for this channel. We even have product development I'm going to put out a name there. If you know him, you'll know what I'm talking about. Benji. He's the head of it when it comes to product development kind of side of things. We are thinking about this channel heavily and how it impacts business, whether it is commercial business, whether it's retail business, whether it is, any sort of business. We are thinking heavily on that side of the channel, even though you don't see it now. And I can't really talk about what's happening in the future. It is going to come into play. You will see a lot of things coming up for the CI channel.